Hello Ashland, my name is John Petrin, Ashland Town Manager, and welcome to Town Manager's Corner. As always, this is a monthly show we do from department to department, and what we like to do is talk about what we do as a community, as a municipality here in the town of Ashland, give you an idea of what our people do for you as citizens. Today we're going to be at the police department. We're going to do a tour of the police department, exterior and interior, and guests today are Assistant Town Manager Mark Purple, as always, Chief Scott Romo with us, and Martin Shapiro, our citizen member of this team, going through when we do these with departments. We're starting in front of the station, and actually we're starting in the memorial area, and we have the memorial that has been dedicated in the past to Officer Charles Carteret, who was killed in the line of duty. Sad to say, 1967, you know, a long time ago, but September 11th. It was that date we'll all remember, but instead of being 2001, we're talking 1967, where Officer Carteret was killed in the line of duty. Chief?
Yes. And actually, this is a new memorial that we worked on, and the Ashland Police Association purchased another stone with the policeman's prayer on it. And we recently did a rededication, which was a nice event. So we're proud of this. We have made some positive changes out here, and we're very proud of this as a police department, and we certainly recognize Officer Charles Carteret and what he stands for. He's a hero.
And on September 11th this year, there was a major ceremony
in
which this was all recognized. And I do want to thank the men and women of the Ashland Police Department and the union for helping us to enhance the police station in the town, as they did put up the policeman's prayer, but they also fixed up the Ashland police sign, redid the letters, and with the brickwork out here and the lighting and so on, with help of people in town. So we want to thank everybody, who's participated in that. So here we are in the front of Ashland Police Station, and you can see, you'll probably get a pan of the various cars and the cruisers out here. And last month we did the tour of the Central Fire Station, and people got us, heard us talking about the issues with being located downtown. Not the sense that it's bad being located downtown, but we are, expansion is a problem here, and even space today with the vehicles. This is a great day to look at the space here, and we're pretty cramped in the middle, and we're hearing another train coming through, and we waited a couple of minutes to get this show started because of the train coming through, and we have another one coming through at this point in time. So we're just going to take a look at the exterior here and the problems we have with space, as the train tracks are right against the police station. We're prohibited from expanding, and what we'd like to do is go through the interior of the station and just look at what we face with the interior. This building was built in the late 70s, but I've made this statement many times. It is absolutely inadequate for our needs today. And our next step as a community is looking at our police and fire needs from a station viewpoint moving forward. And we need to, the next step is going to be going to town meeting next month in November and requesting funds for a feasibility study. I'm not going to stand here and say this is what we need or this is where we need to be, because I think we need to study that. We need to get the information and do the analysis of what our options are. So the first stage is to develop our options. And I was with Congressman McGovern yesterday, and he was asking, and I said, the chief may have an opinion, but I am trying to stay away from any opinion, because I think we need to put our information on the table, get our analysis.
The process.
Absolutely. So I think maybe we can just start walking towards the rear here and taking a look at the back side of the building and work our way in from the garage and do it as if the way some of the officers like to take me in from the back of the cruiser and what would happen at that point. So maybe we can do that and then work our way towards the front.
Okay, great.
And what you'll also see today is the fact that we're doing improvements to this building right now. So you'll see that a new floor is being put down in the station, because we're going to be here at least another 5 years, in anybody's estimation. So we're putting in a new floor, a new heating system. The chief just worked with Middlesex County to get prisoners in here to paint the station. So hopefully you'll see some improvements, even though it looks a little messy today because of all the equipment moves so that floor can be laid. So if, Chief, you want to take us out back here and work from there.
Absolutely, thank you very much. And this, of course, is beautiful downtown Ashland, where the police and fire sit. And if you come around this way, we'll head in from the back of the building. Here's the parking lot. Unfortunately, it's a small parking lot, and space is cramped out here as well. But we're trying to come up with some plans to maybe extend the back of the parking lot a little bit. We've been looking at that, working with DPW and the town manager, and there's some ideas that we have to iron out. But as we come down, you can see the police station here. This is the garage area. This is typically where we bring in a prisoner. We close the garage door and bring them in security reasons. We would bring them into the garage, exit them from the police cruiser, and bring them into the hallway, into the booking area, which we will get to in a minute. We just kind of did some reorganization of the garage area. Unfortunately, it's only a 2-bay garage. You know, in inclement weather, especially in the wintertime, we need the space to house a couple cruisers, to get them out of the weather, out of the snow, to clear the windshield when it is during the ice storms and so forth. But unfortunately, the building is in need of some repairs. The back door, the entrance door, and the exit door there, the emergency door, is rusting off its frame, and so on and so forth. But there's some conditions. We'll take a look at the police station. We're proud of it. Unfortunately, I must say it doesn't really meet the needs of the community and the police officers at this time, but we're making do at this point, and we're hoping, and I would suggest we move forward with the process to investigate a new facility. But come on in, let's take a tour.
Well, just before we step in, Chief, I just want to point out that we have exterior storage here as well. So you can see we have a storage bin and storage area out back here, and then, you know, vehicle storage, and we've got a couple of dumpsters in the back. So we're, you know, again, that is the extent of our property line here. Because right behind those vehicles is the railroad, is the train track going through, and then of course behind these vehicles is Ashland House right behind us. So what you see here for pavement, this is pretty much the extent of what we can have for open space out back. And the storage unit is used for everywhere from tires to confiscated items.
Yes, correct. We put everything in there. Unfortunately, it's kind of an eyesore, but we're trying to make do, and it is chock full with all kinds of stuff. We need that as space. As you'll see, we don't have enough space here in this facility. Well, as you come into the garage, you can see that we have some shelving here for a toolbox in case we have to do some minor adjustments to the mountain bikes, to some of the stuff we have, the police cruisers, and things like this. We bring the cars in here. We typically will wash them in here. We'll clean them out. Each officer is responsible to maintain their car cleanliness. So this is a spot we do that. This is our message board and our radar sign that we deploy in different areas in town. We house that in here to recharge it before we deploy it back out to different locations.
And what you're seeing also right now is a new water heater and material and so on for the heating project that's being done in the building right now. So we're basically putting in a new heating system. Yes,
the old system was inadequate, was failing. Carbon monoxide was escaping into the building, and that had to be addressed. There was no way around that.
And we appropriated funds at annual town meeting this year, you know, to do these enhancements to the building.
Yeah. So this is the
So in essence, a cruiser, if you've made an arrest, a cruiser will pull right into what's called a sally port, or in police terms, or a garage, and so then you close the back door, which is operated through the dispatcher, and that creates the secure setting in which to unload that prisoner into the booking area.
Correct.
Okay.
And typically, we would have another officer join that officer to remove the prisoner from the police cruiser, and then we'd enter through this door immediately into the booking area. There's a couple cells in here as well, which we'll take a look at.
Okay, why don't we step inside?
Okay. As you can see, as we approach, we're having some new flooring put in to upgrade the flooring system in here. So they're currently working on that, and things are a little bit in disarray around here. But typically, we come in through this door. We have a deadbolt lock, which we secure, so it would be limited means of escape. And then we would come down here with the prisoner. And this is the booking area where we will enter all the information into the police computer system here. And we do have a bench here that's been removed. And typically, we'll put the prisoner here and handcuff them to it in a seated position when we do the booking process. And we do the fingerprinting. And here's where the officer, who's the booking officer, stands, enter the information to the computer here. And typically, there's two officers that will make this process happen. So this is kind of a small, confined space, unfortunately, but we make do. You can see, if you're here, you could actually come to do some type of assaulting move if there was a situation that may happen. So it's not ideal, but we make do. And let me just show you some of the cell area if you want to see that right over here. Hey, Rob. Good, how are you? We're just doing a police tour, so this is a gentleman who's doing the floors for us and doing a great job, as you can see. Let me just get by here.
Free airtime here.
Thank you.
How are you? I'm Rob, by the way.
Hi, John.
Rob Marr from Marr Flooring.
Heard a lot about you. Good things. How are you?
And here are the cells right here. These are the adult cells where we house our adult prisoners. The male prisoners come in here.
Facilities
Yeah.
and let us know how this all works out.
As you can see, the bed's not too comfortable. I'm sure we have more comfortable beds at home.
Wow, solid
Yeah,
concrete.
it's concrete.
Whoops.
Now, Chief, didn't we also just do some improvements that we're required to do to upgrade for the safety improvements to some of these cells?
Yes, we removed some, on this, with the track for the doors, for the cell bars, we removed some of that area that where they identified as a risk that someone could tie something off and choke or strangle themselves. So that was upgraded. We do have a system where we monitor the people that are housed in our cells to monitor them from the dispatch center. And also we have a system that was just repaired as well to do a physical check where we would walk down and view them to make sure they're okay. And we would trigger this button, which would have a computer reading of the date and time we did that. So we have 2 male cells here, and we have some other cells that we'll get to around the corner. A female bathroom, this was basically, we had to dedicate this as a female. There are no female facilities, unfortunately, but we have designated this as a female bathroom for the female officers.
Just want to make a point that what Chief just said about not having female facilities here. This station was built without having a female locker room, changing area, bathrooms. We do not have those facilities here, so we're trying to actually work right now to make additional changes from what has been made to separate the female police officers from male police officers, for giving them, some facilities. So it is problematic for us. We can't underestimate that.
Yes.
When we talk about that. So this is a bathroom that's in. This is the only other bathroom besides the men's locker facility.
Correct.
That's the only other bathroom in this station, from the public bathroom that's in the front.
Right.
So this has been designated a female bathroom. And the problem is we have no room here. We're using every single space, as you're going to see. We're using every single inch of space. For storage, for facilities, and for operating here, because this station is not nearly the size we need, to properly function.
Right, we're literally bursting at the seams.
My
as you'll
favorite
see.
room is the where you're going to go into now.
Yeah,
which is
if you want to take a look at this, this is how we this is the plumbing area for the building, and specifically, this is how we flush the toilets in the cell area. But I don't know why this was designed like this. You can't get in there to repair anything. It's been very challenging for the town plumber to get through there. I couldn't fit in there. I don't know. I guess he has a young apprentice that could sneak in there, but who's very small. But no, typically we don't know how we get in there to service that, and it's been a very challenging thing. So, and I don't know why some of the areas were built like this, but they have been. So.
And these are the flushes for the bathrooms, because
Right.
prisoners can't flush on their own.
That's correct.
So this is the remote flushing for the bathrooms that
Yeah.
we have.
Yeah.
This keeps them from flushing drugs down the drain.
Well, or using the water as a threat to their own life, choking or trying to drown, or something of that nature. So yes, it serves many purposes of being able to flush remotely from the prisoners. So if they need to flush, they need to have a request to do so.
Right. Okay, here's our female cell area. These are a twofold system in here. We house the female prisoners, and we also house the juveniles in here. Basically the same setup, the same cell. We have the 2 cement beds and the sink and toilet, and there is also a camera system in here as well.
Following state mandates here
Yes.
with what we're doing. Because again, the threat of suicide and doing self-harm. You get prisoners, who think that way first. And so everything we have here is in accordance with state regulations on how we have to operate the cell. And that's where we get into trouble sometimes of, what we think is ridiculous, but they want us to make changes
Right.
to incorporate, and that's why you can't have flushes on toilets.
Right.
And, you know, all these are things they've determined as not right.
Right. Yeah, and-
Potential threats.
And that's concerns surrounding the cell area, as we pointed out, with the sink and the toilet area. And you'll see other places like dispatch that we have different requirements, so we have to make changes to. But you can see how small we are here, how difficult it is to negotiate anything, because these are some of our female, we don't have a female facility, as we talked about, is specific to showers or locker room or changing area. So unfortunately, we had to put the female lockers here. And, you know, it's challenging because we have to house
And
prisoners here
it's been this
sometimes.
way for years, and it's something we're taking a look at right now,
Right.
of trying to maybe make some other changes here.
Yes.
But again, we're limited in space. And also in here is the
Yeah.
evidence lockers.
Yeah, typically, we have no place for evidence, to process evidence, evidence lockers here, temporary evidence lockers. And what'll happen was, if an officer makes an arrest, let's say they have some drugs that they seize, they would come in here and place the drugs in one of these lockers, and then it locks automatically. And no one can get into that locker except for the person who's in charge of tracking the evidence, which is the detectives. They would come in later, open it, and process it to the lab to be tested. For example, we do have a couple things with evidence in them now to be processed. So there's some type of evidence in there for processing. But again, look at, I mean, you know, this is again in the hallway of the female juvenile cell area, and it's just not a good situation. Just for perspective, this is the door that we would close for the booking area to seal this off. It has a deadbolt. When we do the booking process, that area gets isolated for officer safety and for prisoner safety. If you just step out here, we can check into some of the. This is the detective's office here, and you can see that space is certainly limited. Again, we have 3 desks here that we work out of, a computer station, and this is what we do. This is, you know, unfortunately we have to interview people here. We don't have an interview room or an interrogation room, so this is where a lot of the stuff, you know, takes place, and this is where our detectives work out of here. A small office, but again, we make do. And also, this is another administrative office where you have the executive secretary, the lieutenant. There's 2 lieutenant desks in here and an executive secretary. This is also a very small office where we're squeezed into space. We basically have nowhere to you know, the file cabinets, and we don't have anywhere to store anything, basically. But it can be difficult and challenging. But typically, we also use this to, you know, if there's any need to counsel officers, again, if we need space to interview with people. But we do have personnel files and stuff like this. So after business hours, this is locked and no one can access in here for those reasons.
Right, same with the detective's office.
Correct.
So basically, the administrative offices are for those people who are here, but because of the sensitivity, we can't utilize them as double space.
Yes. And here, as you enter, this is the chief of police office here. This is where we also, we oftentimes have to come in here to meet with residents or do any counseling sessions, or basically, this office is, during the daytime, is used for the officers if they need it as well. And this is where I work out of here directly, my computer station and my desk. And so this is just...
Including departmental storage, right?
Yes, including storage. Unfortunately, we're bursting at the seams where to put everything, and we don't have the storage facilities available here,
Right.
so we have to make do.
And we keep hitting that point.
Yeah.
And, you know, we apologize for keep hitting that point, but it is the reality of how we're operating, you know, in this department, is, you know, we're not functioning as, you know, at the level that we need to be. And you're going to see it when we cross the hall to the day room, squad room,
Yes.
lunch room, interview room,
Right.
roll call room, training room, and men's locker facility, all
Yes.
put into one.
The day room, this is the everything room, actually. What we do here is, this is where typically we have a couple computer stations for the police officers that come in for reports, and this is where they'll do their work here. We house our radio system over here. We have the officers have their batteries and their flashlights stored here. And typically this setup here, the sergeant will come in at the beginning of a shift. The sergeant will sit here. That's a shift schedule. We have some roll call notes and information. The officers will sit around this table, and at that point he will make assignments, which side of town, if there's any specialty radar posts, things like this. He'll give out information about past arrests, past concerns in the community, any areas of crime, things like this. And basically that happens at the beginning of the shift. But logistically, as you'll see, it can be it's very difficult because right across the way in this other small room is the men's locker room. And typically the outgoing officers are in and out of there, so it's kind of disruptive. And logistically, it's a nightmare, let me say.
And again, this is, you see the break area. So
Yeah.
this houses the refrigerator and the sink and coffee pot, for the officers. So
Right.
basically, officers spend almost their whole time, when they're in station. This is what they're doing because they're at beginning of shift, end of shift, report writing, eating. So everything is occurring in this room, and several functions are occurring at once. We've all been in here, several times where someone's trying to write the report, but you've got an officer, eating right behind, and
Right.
there's just not a good functioning, of what occurs. And you're going to see when we go on that locker room doesn't house, nearly the amount of officers that we have on staff. And again, inside the locker room is one shower facility and one toilet facility.
Yes.
Actually mixed together. It's not even a separation between the bathroom and the shower. It's just one room.
So it's limited use in there, correct. Come in here and get ready. They'll suit up, put their vests on, get their gun belts ready, and report out into the next office, the next room here, which is the roll call room, where they receive their assignments and their daily duties for their shift. And this is just the one bathroom that we have, other than the female. This is a small bathroom designated the men's area. We don't really have a locker room, as you can see, but and there's a shower here. If one of the officers gets an exposure, perhaps to blood or some type of bodily fluid, they could come in and change and shower if they have to. And unfortunately, the women don't have that option. We don't have anywhere for them to do that. But this is just very small. Again, it's outdated, and it's a small area. Here we are. This is a stairwell, and we just utilize this space as another locker room. And the sergeants here and the specialty officers are here in this area. We also have some special operations equipment in some of these lockers, but we just have no space. So we're basically set up in this stairwell to accommodate the officers. And there's not much heat back here, and it can be cold. But here it is. This is what we have. The lockers here. We have some file cabinets, more storage. We have some books and stuff stored here as well. It's kind of in disarray because of the floor. They're replacing the floors right now. But as you can see, there's 4 of us in this room, and there's hardly any room to stand here.
Right.
Well,
I want to thank you for this tour. For a very personal reason. My wife's been accusing me of leaving everything in a big mess. House is cluttered, especially my own work areas and so on. It's beautiful compared to what you have.
wow. That's a good observation, really. Yeah, unfortunately, as we keep stressing, and we don't mean to do that, but as you can see, the place is in need of expansion.
And the problem, too, is when you look at the equipment that each officer has these days, it's just expanded from when you started the job, 20 years ago to what, you do today, and the type of equipment and, from the vest to everything else.
Correct.
Just storing this on a day-to-day basis is problematic. So there's more tools in the trade than what you had 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
In the old days, they gave you a badge, a gun, and a key to the cruiser.
Right.
Now it takes a lot more to outfit a police officer for the safety purposes, of what occurs.
And I mean, John and I have seen this, but, and Martin's seeing it for the first time today and everything in that, but, we can keep talking about space and space needs, and you don't have enough space and everything, but you're making do with what you have. But I mean, you're moving your space into, as you literally said, a stairwell. And this is what, this is what it's come down to. You're pushing it to the edges of what you have available. And
I mean, imagine reporting for work and then changing behind this little divider, and trying to maintain functionality. I mean, someone may have to go upstairs, and we'll go up there in a minute. It's basically storage. It's really useless up there. There's not much else to do up there. They didn't have any. I don't know why they didn't have a second floor when they built this building, but there's really, only storage space available up there.
And basically, you're in the middle of the prisoner booking area in the cells. So
Correct.
this door is right next to where the prisoners are being brought in, and the booking area. And if you've got someone unruly in the cells, you're right in this same area.
Yes, that's correct.
So, you know, there's not a separation between the cells and the working area.
Yeah, there is a sense of vulnerability because of those reasons you pointed out, absolutely. And we'll take you upstairs, we'll take a look up there, and basically it's just a storage area.
Got the light on there.
Okay, and here we are upstairs at the police department. Basically, this was built a number of years ago to house our evidence. This is a secure area, again, that's maintained by the property officer, our detectives. And we have evidence in here that is filed for court, and we have to sometimes retain that for a year or more, or pending the court case. So that's what this little area is for that we built. Basically, we have storage up here. This is all the files. We have to hold our files for 10 years, reports. Some things we have to hold indefinitely. But again, as you can see, this with the roof line here, there's no space. And if you just walk with me, I'll show you. Again, these are all just reports we have filed here, which our records division has to come up and down and lug these boxes up and down to maintain our reporting system here and our filing system. This is where the 911 system wires are held, the housing for the 911 system, which we'll get into in the dispatch area. This is just some of the wire work for that area. Here is the old boiler. This was the one that was failing. Carbon monoxide was escaping into the building, and we just had this changed. Actually, this is the new system over here. It's not up and running yet, but it should be within the next day or two. And so here's the new system. This will be removed, so we might gain a little space, you know, in that regard. As you can see down here, this is basically another small area where our armorer will work on our handguns. Each year he takes them down to, takes them all apart and cleans them, inspects them, replaces any parts that need to be replaced. And this is basically where he does it from up here in this small area. As you can see, we just have some auxiliary uniforms for the auxiliary officers. This is just some storage again here. And around the corner here, this has been moved around because they're doing some work with the boiler. This is the generator, the department generator. And in the event of emergency, this will kick on, and we can be self-sufficient. We can run the entire police department off this generator, which is a V8.
Which is problematic in itself because we got the generator inside the building.
Right, it is.
You know, generator should be exterior, should be outside. But right now, our emergency power system is inside here. That's the way this building was built in.
That's correct. This is the original design of the building.
And you can see more storage, case files and everything.
Yes.
On the back side of this. So you can see we're using every inch, you know, of the building wherever we can to provide that space.
Correct. Okay, here we are standing in the dispatch area. As you can see, when you walk in the front doors, there's a small lobby, and the glass where you can speak to the dispatchers or officers that are here for assistance. And basically what happens here in the dispatch center, we're obviously manned 24/7, and we have everything maintained on a police log. All of our calls are documented, and we have a running log of all of our activity. We have dispatchers here that this is the radio system. At this point, we can communicate to our officers directly, whether on portable radio or in the police cruisers. We also have a system where we can speak to the surrounding towns, the fire department, and so forth. We also have a 911 center where we have the 911 system, the enhanced 911 system. So anyone who calls the police on a 911 emergency line, whether it be from a phone booth, from a home, or a business, once that call comes through and actually rings, we have that information saved on a screen, which we can identify a specific location to go to and confirm that information, first of all, if the caller is on the line, and if not, if it's disengaged the call, then we can respond there to check and investigate if there's any concern or any problem. But this is where it all happens. And again, we have no space. So you can see this is basically the records area. And we have our files, our current files and incident reports filed out here. But there's no workspace. It's very challenging and difficult for our records clerk, who does a fine job every day. But again, you know, the sergeant would typically be available for calls for service and so forth. And there's just no room, or there's just no space here in this building. And we're just breaking at the seams.
Yeah, so what we have is basically two people here during the day. So you have your dispatcher in the front, you have the records clerk in the back, and trying to do this. Now, we just made the change not too long ago because records was actually in the office right behind the camera here, and we had the sergeant out here, but that was proving problematic because, again, there was no private space for sergeants to deal with the public when people came in. So a move was just recently made to pull the records out here and put the sergeant into, you know, have at least one private office, you know, available for dealing with the citizenry when they come in. So this is, you know, definitely some issue we have here. We are looking at, again, making minor improvements to the station because we're here for a few more years. So we're trying to take care of upgrade here with the floor. We're a little messy today, but with the floor being installed, we just painted the entire station. The interior of the station has been newly painted through the prisoners, and next we'll be installing, you know, replacing some of the ceiling tiles through here, and then the heating system. So we'll get as far along as we can to at least maintaining a minimum atmosphere in this station. But this station is just not what we need for our future to move forward.
Exactly. So this is it. This is where it all happens, and this is where somebody is 24/7 right here doing the job every day. Again, yeah, the computer dispatch, the National Crime Information Center, and so forth. But behind you, as you mentioned, John, we have an office, a very small office, which our sergeants now utilize. And for privacy reasons, to meet with residents or the council offices or whatever, we changed this area from the records, the current records room, and we moved it. It was very overcrowded in here, as it still is, but we have a couple desks for the sergeants that work off here. They fill shifts, overtime, details. They also do daily duties here in this office, meet with residents and concerned people and so forth. So basically, another small office that we utilize, and it's a little bit overcrowded here. You can see that it houses some this is the old alarm board system and the electrical panel and so forth in here that is all part of the office.
I'm absolutely shocked. Really, absolutely shocked. To me, it looks like it should have been torn down 10 years ago.
Well, unfortunately, it doesn't meet the needs of the community or the officers. We are making do, but definitely on the radar for some changes here.
And that's the goal here. You know, the goal is not to, you know, to demand, or the goal is to educate and educate our public. So when we go to town meeting upcoming in November, is for you to be able to see what we see. And I know we had Finance Committee in a tour in, here back in the spring, and again, I'm not sure, you know, I won't put words in their mouth, but maybe shock, you know, might be a word that was used there. And I think it was, you know, a belief that what looks decent from the outside, because when you go past this building, it looks like a nice brick building. But when you come inside, you see that the functionality is not here in this building. It does not work. This is a building that is built for a town of 5,000 people with a department of 10 people. So if this was 10 police officers, this building would probably be adequate, you know, with some minor upgrades. All men. You know, all men, thank you. But that's not the way of the world. That's not what Ashland is. And so it's our goal to take steps, and, you know, we're not looking for X million today to build a new station. We understand with the buildings we've just built recently in town, you know, we're not ready to take on a new project, but we're ready to take on the next planning stage. And capital planning, capital program is all about planning in advance. And I think there is agreement with, you know, within much of the town that the next building we have to plan, we have to discuss is police and fire. I think we showed the inadequacy in our last show of the fire station, And today, I think we're showing the inadequacy of this building, and so we need to take these steps.
Yes.
And that's what we're going to do at this town meeting. We're going to request some funds to do a feasibility study, which is going to look at what are our needs. I don't know what size, department we should build. So the question is, what size, what type of square footage should we build, and what are the potential areas for putting it? Because with the railroad coming through town, we have different expectations and we have different needs in this community than other communities in siting. So we have to work that up, and we need some assistance to do that. So that's where we're at.
Absolutely, and looking at the location geographically, I mean, we're prone to flooding for the
Sure.
police and fire currently at this location. It's so small, and talk about upgrades, yes, we do have to do upgrades. Our current dispatch system is past its life expectancy at this point and needs to be upgraded. The parts are difficult to come by now. When they do break down, it's difficult it's becoming problematic at this point. It doesn't meet the ADA requirements for our dispatch area. So there's just a whole number of issues specific to this building and the current location. But we're looking at having to do those upgrades and make appropriate changes to get by. So
we are holding off on some things,
Yeah.
because we'd like to do it in a coordinated approach.
Right.
We have to look at our next operation. Right now, we have dispatch separated between police and fire. Do we look at, combined dispatch operations? I mean, these are things that we need to discuss and put on the table.
a combined facility, perhaps. I think that's the way to go.
You
but-
know, and you're right. I think that is that's, definitely up on my mind, a combined facility, but we need to assess it
Right,
and make
exactly.
those determinations. So that's where we are. So with that, I guess we conclude today's show. And again, I want to thank
Thank you.
all my guests today for the tour we're putting out there. Thank you.